Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for our team announcement press conference ahead of our Vodacom URC Grand Final against the DHL Stormers. We've got Vodacom Bulls Director of Rugby, Mr. Jake White, to take all your questions. Apologies for the 1 minute delay in letting everyone in, but we are now all good to go. We'll shoot straight to questions. Ashfaq, I see your hand is up. You can go, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Jake. Hope you're well after the training week.
Well, thanks, Ashfaq.
A big call in some ways to stick with the same team that started last week and the bench. Curtly Arends is still on the bench, and I take it David Creel's 100%.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. You confused me. David's on the bench. Ashfaq, Curtly's playing. I don't know what team you got. I hope you got the right team.
The team sent out was David at wing and Curtly on the bench.
No. It's wrong. Curtly starts at 15 and David's on the bench.
Okay, cool. Then what does it mean to have Curtly back in the starting lineup?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, he's like, you saw what he did. I mean, guy's been out for about 7 weeks. Comes in a game like Leinster, I thought he was outstanding for guys and played rugby for so long. It's his birthday today as well, so it's quite nice. At least he's on a bit of a high. As I said, I'm looking forward to him playing tomorrow. He played really well against the Stormers last time as well. Remember, he made a lovely line break, led to a try that we scored as well. So, yeah, I mean, he obviously comes from here. His parents, I'm sure his family will be out here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to him because, as I said, he's a phenomenal player, and he's been picked this week into the Springbok setup. So he's having the week of his life so far. So hopefully we'll finish it on a good note.
Nathan?
Thank you, Tapambi. Jake, what's the itinerary or schedule been like since the Leinster game with traveling and field sessions before the final?
Yeah, look, Nathan, hasn't been ideal. I mean, obviously, one of the things that we had to do is we couldn't leave until we knew whether we had to come home. And you saw it happen in the last kick of the game. So, we couldn't even have preempted and thought, the Stormers will win. Let's get on an aeroplane. It doesn't work like that. We'd been halfway back home. We'd have to turn around and come back. So, but saying that, I mean, it's the same thing. We flew on a short week to play Leinster. We played Leinster on a Friday night. We played on the Saturday in a real 83-minute tussle against the Sharks. So, the one last thing, Nathan, which I'm very confident about, this group of players has backed up week after week. They've played Currie Cup. They've had to sometimes play Wednesday, Saturdays. This is another challenge. So we flew back, and it was quite nice. A lot of them flew back business class. And, it wasn't ideal. We wouldn't come back in the same plane, but hey, there's a lot more things to be unhappy about than not coming back in the same plane. As I said, business class, got back. We would have had an easy week anyway. At the World Cup in 2007, we didn't really train. We basically, there's no more we can do now, and we're not going to change anything. I mean, whatever's worked has worked. So, we basically just tightened up the things we need to tighten up. And we didn't really need a lot of time. I just think, now it's more having the experience I've got. It's now just about preparing as well as you can in the time you have. And I'm very happy. We've had a good week.
Vuyo?
Thanks, Tumani. Good day, Coach. Coach, just having conversations with some people in the fraternity, I think the focal point that we all get to is that South African rugby is the biggest winner, no matter what happens tomorrow. Just how much of those sentiments are you sharing, especially when you look back at the start of this tournament, how opposite those comments were to the South African fans?
It's really fantastic. I just bumped into some guys from the URC. I've just landed. They're obviously happy, excited, and obviously very chuffed about the fact that there's two South African sides. I read a lot this week. I haven't been in the media much, but I've obviously read a lot of the media stuff. And, there's obviously all these romantic stories about how teams get motivated. We were 15th. We never, ever, we lost our first game. I think we lost our first 5 out of 6. So if there's ever going to be a romantic story view, it maybe be the one about the Bulls that came basically from nowhere, to win the competition. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fantastic occasion. We've also got another team playing tonight in the Currie Cup semi-final. So, there's a big week for us as a group at the Bulls.
Ken?
Thanks, Kumani. How's it, Jake?
How you, Ken?
Jake, you've had two fairly close losses to the Stormers in matches this season.
Yeah.
What do you feel went wrong in those games, and how have you set about improving them, or have those issues been improved already?
Yeah, Ken, look, I mean, we've had two losses against them. I think we've probably had about 8 or 9 wins against them in the last 2 years as well, which has been fantastic. In fact, one, we were running away with them and the Lightning stopped the game. So, yeah, I look back at those games, and I mean, I'm sure you will remember, I mean, as you do watching those games, we were 18-0 down in the first game, and then we were up and we let them score right at the death. So we were in that game. We were even leading it at one stage, as I said, after being 18-0 down. And I think the last game at the Stormers, we had Bismarck sighting, which wasn't ideal. It went on right literally into the warm-up of the game before we knew he was out. I had Ruan for Mark. I had Grobbies. And I think those two guys were at the lineman camp, and their heads were, you know, it's obviously natural. Their heads were with the Springboks and thinking about how they can get in the Springbok team. Marcel Coetzee wasn't selected. Probably felt that he wanted to prove a point in that game, and I think Ulrich as well was at the lineman camp. So there were a lot of things that weren't, you know, it's no one's excuse. It's just the way it is. They're young boys, and you know, they have a dream to play for South Africa. As I said, that week was a bit of a disruption for us, I think, and I'm not, again, we lost by 2 points. We lost by conversion. Yeah. So as I said, I'm fully confident that this time, having learned what we learned last time. You know, having guys now, they know who's in the box side. There's no more trying to outdo anybody. You know, as I said, all this media stuff, I repeat myself, is all, you know, it's lovely for the outsiders. It's lovely to build up the game, but it's not for us, kid. You know, I go back to 2007 World Cup. You don't have to, the emotions come on its own. You don't have to bang your chest. So, yeah, I just think we'll be much better prepared. And as I said, we played such good rugby in the last couple of weeks, and as Kitchoy said, you've got to make sure you play your best at the end.
Ken, do you have a follow-up?
Jake? Yeah, please. Jake, just putting aside all that sort of off-field disruptions, just on the field, would you say scrums and breakdowns are going to be the two key areas where you need to ensure parity with the Storm?
Well, Ken, to be fair, you know, we got Grobbies, who's probably one of the best ball field fishers in the game. We've got Marcel, who's unbelievable on the floor. You know, so it's not a case of, you know, Deon Fourie is a wonderful player, and he can also go hard at the breakdown. But yeah, that's a skill that we've got. We've got enough players in our team that can do that as well. So yeah, that's one area. The other area is the scrum. You know, I just feel that the turf at Newlands or at Cape Town Stadium is not conducive to scrumming. And you know, I know the Stormers have obviously spoken a lot about the fact that they've got great scrum and they've got 2, you know, World Cup winning props, and that's fine. But I just don't think the surface here gives them the, you know, gives them the benefits that they, or the bonuses that they should get, because, you know, I just think that it's surface that breaks up quickly, and it's sometimes the way it takes the contest of the scrum away. And I'd hate to lose a game because the scrum collapses. And the perception is that the 2 Springbok front rankers could never have done anything wrong, because I've seen them slip. I think the last 80 scrums I've taken out from this field, there's 23 resets. And I mean, that's against all different forms of teams. So, yeah, I think, unfortunately, for whoever, and I say this, the Stormers, I think, unfortunately, their surface doesn't allow them to play to one of their strengths, which is having 2 Springbok props.
Kobus?
Hi, Jake. You mentioned young boys now. A lot of these players haven't played in a match, a big match like this. What will your main message be to your players?
Kobus, it's quite, you know, it's interesting you asked me that, because you know, we beat the Brumbies. I mean, sorry, we beat the British and Irish Lions when I was at the Brumbies, and we beat Leinster last week with 19 internationals. I think we beat SAA, and the message is simple, Kobus, is they all those players that we played against started like we started, all of them. They started as young guys in a group, and they had to either sink or swim. And I think that's the message. I think you just got to sink or swim. I've got no doubt. Every time we played in a knockout game, we've come through the other side as winners, and that's the thing that we get positive on the side. Every time we've had to beat someone, we lost to the Sharks twice in the season. We beat them in the playoff. You know, we lost to the Sharks in the Currie Cup. We beat them in the Currie Cup final. We lost to Stormers twice. It's irrelevant. Now it's a playoff game, and as I said, the lessons that we learned playing those big teams, all those big teams have started like this. And we don't have 5 World Cup winners, Kobus. We don't have 5 people that are, if they pick the Springbok side tomorrow and they pick 23, we wouldn't have 1 guy in the team. So, but saying that, it's a great way to be, because all the teams have started like that. Leinster started like that. Crusaders started like that. Springbok started like when I coached the Springboks in 2004. We had 175 caps, of which Brayton, I think, had, I don't know, maybe 80 and also had 50. So I think there were like 130 caps between 2 players, and we only had 175 in our team. And that team went on to win Tri-Nations, World Cups, British Irish Lions. So my message is just, listen, boys, let's go out there and do it. It's a great opportunity for you. Every time I've sort of challenged you, you've won.
Simon?
Thanks, Jumani. Hi, Jake. Jake, I've got 2 questions for you. 2 South African players, teams, South African conditions, but a Northern Hemisphere ref, your breakdown policing, contests to the death, probably on the breakdown, first, second, third channels, tight phases. How have you prepared your team for this? I mean, it's a big moment. It's the big stage. You've probably made mention through all the answers that you've given here, but just enlighten me a little bit here, and I'll just follow up with you a little bit later.
Okay, Simon, yeah, look, I'm very happy it's a Northern Hemisphere referee, and I say that because I think we won neutrality. Every coach won a neutrality in the whole competition. We were the first, all of us, when we went overseas, we didn't get any, remember when everyone was complaining about the fact that there's no neutrality in the game, etc., etc. So to have Andrew Brace, he's an international ref, he's ref, 6 nations. I think refs themselves would like to ref finals. I think refs themselves have prepared the whole year also to be at their best to get these sort of games. And I found Andrew Brace as one of the better referees we've had. I thought a couple of the overseas guys we had were fantastic as well. So, and I think his interpretation of, we've done some work on him, and the way he blows the game is the way you've got to adapt, and the team that adapts tomorrow, that'll be my answer to you. The team that adapts the quickest and understands and has done their homework will come out at the end. And I've got no doubt we've been working hard for, this is not just the thing we started last week. We've been together for 2 years, and this has probably been the game that we've wanted to be part of. So yeah, look, I think it's got South African touch judges and South African TMOs, and obviously they on merit. You've got a guy like Paper, who's a great referee, and then obviously Marius, who's going to be at the World Cup as a TMO as well. So it's great. There's 4 great people involved in the game, and I'm looking forward to it, because, as I said, I think we've done really well when we've had Northern Hemisphere referees ref us in all the other games. So we've probably adapted very well to the way the Northern Hemisphere referees want to ref.
Heinz?
Thanks, Jake. And just the last question
sorry,
for me.
sorry, Simon.
Sorry, Jumani. Just the last question. You've made mention of the fact, yes, no stars in your team. It's been like that for the URC for, well, the whole URC, and now it's the stars not only against the Stormers, but also you met them at the South Sea Sharks as well. The question is this what Jake White wants to achieve as a coach? You've made mention, you've been around the block many times, and we know your history, we know your success rate, and like you say, quote unquote, the romantic stuff and stuff like that. How much of this is the Jake White, pardon the pun, I am able to bring my team through, I can do it against all odds?
No, Simon, it's not even close to that. There's nothing about I think that's the one significant difference. I want the Bulls to win. The Bulls is the organization. It's not about me. At the end of the day, I'm the coach, but the players have to play. And I think that's the message. I think, as I said, I was just thinking aloud as you speak. It's not about I. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not even playing, And I want the players to actually just, as I said to the previous guy, just play. I'm going to learn. A lot of these guys are going to become Springboks. A a lot of these guys are going to have exactly the same pressure. And, you know, I mean, I listened to Jurgen Klopp. They got to Europe. They lost in Europe. I think the first question he answered was, where's the final next year? And they said, Istanbul. He said, well, book the hotel rooms. And that's part of a coach. Got nothing to do with me, Simon. I'm not here to, you know, as I said, it's about the team. I think the Bulls want to win tomorrow. I think the Bulls organization and the group of boys here, they want to win.
Heinz, over to you.
Awesome, Jack. Thanks for your time. Also, just two quick questions from me. Firstly, you mentioned actually this whole week has been a big debate, you know, about the state of the Cape Town Stadium pitch. Just you've mentioned the scrums now, but how did the captain's runs go? Do you think the guys sort of like at least got a feel for the field? You know, do you think it's going to hold up, you know, in general? Okay. And then just secondly, there's also been this narrative this week, you know, from some observers, you know, that you guys might have actually played your final last week. But that sort of like goes against what Marcel, you know, has been saying, you know, for the past couple of weeks now, that given your slowish start, you guys have been playing playoff rugby, you know, since basically from round 7 onwards. So you guys must already sort of like be in that groove, you know, for weeks now. And it also doesn't quite take into account how successful you guys have been, you know, in finals. I mean, you've been winning.
Exactly. Now, Heinz, you hit the nail on the head. Last week when we beat Leinster in Leinster, we didn't celebrate. So it wasn't like we had achieved anything. I can tell you the change room was like, you know, it was obviously happy, but it wasn't jumping around like we had won anything. And I think that's a good sign for a coach. We've been playing knockout rugby, you're 100% right. We've had to jump up from 15th on the log. As I said, we played Connacht and Leinster the first 2 weeks. Then we got a win against Cardiff, and we lost to Edinburgh, and we lost to the Sharks, and they got a bonus point. So out of 5 games, we had got 1 win. And people forget we were the last of the. I remember people showing screenshots of the Bulls are the last team on the log from the South African point of view, last in our conference. So we've had to play knockout rugby. We know, and you know, Kitch Christie always said you play well in your finals. You know, that's the reality, guys. I mean, we didn't play our final last year. We got nothing. We've got absolutely nothing for winning there. You know, there may be 250 or 300 WhatsApp messages from all your mates, but that's not winning. You know? So yeah, I can tell you that our final is tomorrow. I'm not concerned about any media or people referring to our game last week. You know, they almost won with a penalty, with a try and a conversion in the last play of the game against Ulster. So you know, maybe their final was last week as well. You know, so yeah, I've learned enough. As I said, I was with Kitch. I know the story too, guys. I mean, you only get judged on the finals. You know, first man on the moon was Neil Armstrong. Second on the moon, they all know who he is, but not the same. You know, so yeah, we understand that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, we haven't been to the field yet. I mean, we're going to go there now this afternoon. So we haven't trained on the field as in see what it's like now. But I think historically, I've just given you a fact. The last 80 scrums on that field, 23 resets against different opposition. Now, you can't therefore say that one team is illegally scrumming or the other team, because I mean, out of 80 scrums, they collapsed 23 times. Something is not right. So I just wouldn't want tomorrow. The perception is that the 2 South African front rankers who are really good rugby players and good scrummagers get the rub of the green because the front row collapses. So I also think we've scrummed really well. In fact, one of our stats is I think we've got one of the highest amount of scrum penalties as well. I'm talking about in our favor. So, you know, I just think it's one of those areas where, you know, I just wouldn't want to have a result based on the fact that one scrum collapsed and the perception was that one person had caused it to collapse and that team ends up losing.
Sanele, and then Quest after you.
Jake, a couple questions from my side. First of all, you guys are in the final, which is something to celebrate. It's a great moment, but it didn't start out that way at the beginning of the season. So I just wanted to know from you as the director of the Bulls. I know all SA sides had that turning corner moment somewhere during the season about 8 weeks ago, but for you guys, that turning corner moment, can you describe that, how that was like for you guys to turn the season around and get to this point?
Yeah, so yeah, that's the easiest question I can answer. The very first time we got the moment came on is when we lost to Leinster. We just won the Currie Cup. We went there and we got 31-3 hiding. And it was done at a pace that could have quite easily been more, you know. And I think that was the moment where the coaching staff just decided, look, if we're going to keep playing the same way we've been playing local rugby against everybody, and it looks hell of a good, and we think we on to something special, and then we basically got a lesson from Leinster on that. That's not the way you play rugby. So, and that happened from week one. So, you know, we can't in 3 weeks in a tour change everything. We sort of hung in there with what we could. We came back with 1 win, I think, and then 1 losing point, losing bonus point. So we basically had 5 points on the log. We played the Sharks, we got nothing. Then we had and then we just had to continue working behind the scenes to get where we wanted to get to, and get our game where it is. And you know, all of a sudden, you look at the log. I think we scored the 2nd most attacking bonus points. I think we're close to the most tries scored in the competition. You know, so there's a lot of things that we by changing the way we played and the understanding of how we want to play, just change the results. And as the results change, we moved higher and higher up the ladder. And the Stormers, you know, we couldn't catch them. They won the Shield, and they obviously the #1 side in South Africa, 3 points ahead of us. Yeah, and so you know now we got a massive game because now we can judge ourselves against the guys who won our conference.
Follow up for Sanele.
Yes, please. So, and this one is just a general question. We've seen that in the semifinals, in these semifinal matches, the stadiums have become more and more filled here in South Africa, which is a good sign, I would say, going forward, given how, you know, over the years, numbers have become to dwindle less and less. What lessons are there now to be learned for all the SA sides in terms of bringing the people back? Because it seems like it's one thing to say to the people, come support the teams because the teams are there, but it seems like maybe the teams need to win first before that support can come back and the fans can come back into the stadiums in their numbers.
Yeah, so nearly I can tell you on the aeroplane today, there were a lot of farmers that were coming from the Northern Transvaal. There were a lot of guys flying down in the same plane as us from the Northern Transvaal and from above, you know, as I said, from Pretoria. And I can tell you, it reminds me of the old days. I think guys are now following their teams again. And you're right, you got to win. I mean, no one wants to follow a team that's not going to win. That's part of, I suppose, our jobs as coaches. We got to get that vibe going by getting winning teams. And, you know, I've got no doubt the stadiums were full up. You know, we haven't managed to play a game at Loftus, except for obviously the Sharks a couple of weeks, but we haven't managed to play like a final in front of our crowd. And I think as it stands now, we've won about 5 trophies and we haven't had that privilege of playing it in front of our crowd. So, yeah, look, I you know, as I said, it's going to be a fantastic occasion. We're looking forward to it. We're very well prepared. I can tell you we're very well prepared. I'm very happy. Yeah, and as I said to you, you know, there's all about tomorrow just doing the things we do well, and I'm sure we'll be fine.
Wes?
Thanks, Tumani. Jake, just a question about the line-out drives. With the weather and everything, I suppose line-out drives will be a big part of the game tomorrow. And your own line-out drive struggled a bit the last few games. I remember against the Sharks, I think Henko Venter went through the middle twice, I think, and stopped you and stopped a bit of momentum. But my first question is about the Stormers' drive. They scored many tries throughout the season with line-out drives, and on Saturday they managed only to score 1, and then Leicester got their number at some stage. Did you learn something from our Ulster? Sorry. Did you learn something from our Ulsters? Stop them and even got them in reverse gear sometimes. And did you manage to?
Baie goeie vraag. As ek nou klaar is, dan sien ek Dwayne Vermeulen kom eet saam met my. En hy kom kapteinsoefening saam met my vanmiddag ook en ek gaan met hom 'n bietjie praat oor wat het gebeur. Ek gaan my lyn staan en wys. Ek het alles nou hierso op die skerm en vir hom wys en vra wat sal die plan hierso wees? Wat sal julle gedoen het? Hoekom het dit so gedoen? So ja, so ek het daai base gecover. Hy kom vanmiddag, soos ek sê, ek wag nou vir my, miskien sit hy hierso en dan gaan ons saam eet en dan ry hy saam met ons oefening toe.
Okay, we'll go to Ashfaq and then wrap it up with Ken.
Jake, I know you said that the 2 losses against the Stormers are irrelevant now because you are both in the final. But what would you want your team to do differently from the last game at Cape Town Stadium where, you know, we spoke previously, you felt that the guys didn't fire a shot in the first half, but since then it's been going really well.
I feel like the answer is just to win. Find a way to win. That's bottom line. Tomorrow's going to be about finding a way to win. You know, the game was on such margins. I remember speaking to you about it. You were sitting there in the box. We should have scored. We didn't score just before halftime. When I looked again, they scored on the other side of the field. So, I mean, that's the margin. We lost the game by 2 points, and they scored a 14-point swing around try literally on halftime. You know, so yeah, I just said, I mean, what do we need tomorrow? We need to win, and we've prepared. I mean, I can tell you we prepared, and we just need to find a way to win. And I'm very confident. I'm very confident that this group of players, every time I've challenged them, they've understood and they've produced. And there's no more you can ask as a coach.
And the travel from Dublin is not a factor at all this week.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's never going to be ideal when you play away. But I tell you what, we got out of that is we came out of airports with people clapping hands and getting people that said, geez, we love the Bulls and well done. And some people said, can you believe they beat Leinster? So, I mean, can you put a price on that? You can't really put a price on that. So you're traveling, you're not ideal, but geez, I can tell you all the accolades you get is also great for young sportsmen. So, you know, today as well, we flew down here, we're playing away, but I can tell you the planes are packed and, you know, the supporters are all in town and they're saying, listen, geez, guys, this is fantastic. I can tell you get a lot of that. Young boys that are playing, they don't underestimate the value they get from sucking in that energy as well in airports. And as I said, so the travel is not ideal, but hey, you know, if we're going to play in this tournament next week, we could be playing, I'm giving an example, this time next year, we could be playing Saracens away next week in a Challenge Cup, in a Champions Cup game. Then what do? You know, you can't say, yeah, we've got to travel to Saracens, we're going to get a hiding. So, yeah, it's one of those things I think this group has also adapted to us. I'm really proud of them. And they've adapted because they've played Wednesday, Saturday. Sometimes they've had to fly there. Then I've halved the team and I've sent some guys. And at the end of the day, you know, we are where we are today. We've got two teams in playoffs, one in the semi-final of the Currie Cup. I know this isn't the Currie Cup forum, but gee, I tell you what, we've got a, you know, for Union that's won every single trophy you could have won and have two teams in the playoffs is a hell of a nice place to be. And I can tell you the players enjoy it. You know, the players, they love being part of it.
Final question, Ken?
Jake, do you feel that your team has an advantage when it comes to being able to adapt your game plan to whatever the strategic necessity is in the actual final? And would you prefer it to be raining or dry?
Yes, Ken. So I'll tell you, look, I think that's exactly it, Ken. I think you've summed up. I think the one thing I've learned with this group is they found a way to win different games. We've won it sometimes with tries. We've won it sometimes with forward play. We've won it with interplay, you know, with forwards and backs. As I said, I think the one thing this group of players has shown me is that they're exactly that. They're clever enough to work out in a game how to find a way to win. You know, and I've said that to you many, many times, not just even in finals, in games that, you know, that they've learned lessons. And that is for me the thing that I'm looking forward to. Is we had a lesson. We came down here. It's fantastic. We same hotel. We lost 19-17. We didn't play well. I mean, we didn't play well that day as well. As I said, the guys who were in alignment camps, heads were in another place. They admitted to themselves, you know, how they know they're in the Bok team. So we're a completely different team. And I go back to what Kitch said. You know, Kitch said you've got to play your best rugby at the back end of the competition. Kitch, you know, I mean, Kitch was with the Harlequins and he was with Springboks and he was with Transvaal. And I was lucky enough to learn that from him. As I said, it's finals rugby is different. Yeah. Finals rugby is, as you all know, you know, so now it becomes whatever happened last week or whatever happened the week before. Whoever lost the first one or won the first one is irrelevant. So, yeah, that for me is the first part. The second part is the raining, or, you know, we played last week in an unbelievable conditions. We wouldn't have seen it on TV against Leinster, and we found a way in the rain to play the way we played as well. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think aloud, but I don't know when last Storm was played in rain. So maybe if it rains, it might be a new dimension to the game as well for them. We've been lucky enough. We've played in rain and wind. We played Connacht. We lost the toss. We played, you know, with the wind first half and against the wind the second half. And all those learnings, Ken, are things that we obviously have put in our memory bank. And if we have to play in rain, then the same answer applies. They find a way to win. And, you know, I think our coaches have done enough homework with scenario planning, etc., on all those things. As I said, having Dwayne coming down for lunch today and then coming with us to captain's practice and talking to us about what they felt last week, and that's an incredible extra bit of info that you can get. And I'm looking forward to, you know, when you put that all together, Ken, you get confidence.
Ladies and gents, thank you very much for your time. Coach Jake, thank you very much, and all the best for tomorrow night.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks.
Jack. Good luck.